All right, I'm going to show you how to set up a Nathan workflow that will allow you to see notifications in ClickSense whenever an app finishes loading, either successfully or unsuccessfully. And we're basically going to use Ollama LLM in order to generate the output. Some sort of fresh reaction to the reload every time. So, not a very practical use of AI necessarily, but just kind of a fun little project we can do here. So let me kind of show you what is involved here. So first we have Nathan, or uh, N8N or Nathan or something like that. I always just say Nathan. That just rolls off the tongue a little better for me. And we have it self-hosted here, and so we have this whole flow where we first listen for a webhook from Qlik Cloud. So we basically are going to show I'm going to show how we can set up a webhook in Qlik Cloud to fire whenever an app finishes reloading. And then that will be aimed, so to speak, at this webhook node here in Nathan. That'll be listening for that information, and so we'll feed it the information about that reload, including which app it was, whether or not it failed, really basic stuff like that. That's basically all we care about right there, the app ID and whether or not it failed, essentially. And we can always tweak that going forward. And so when Nathan receives that information from Qlik with the app and whether or not the app reload failed, we then feed that information into our Olama server, which is also self-hosted. And this is just a little bit of tweaking uh, of our model parameters here, and we're using Gemma 3, 4-bit or 4 billion quantized. I want to say that is non-floating point. I don't remember all the little sticky details there, but nevertheless, that's which open source LLM model is going to kick back our analysis. And so the fun part comes into play here in this node where we feed in the result of the reload, and then here is our system prompt. You're a very, very snarky Italian New Yorker who uses a lot of exaggerated and emotional expressions. You were to review the given JSON payload, which is information about a Qlik Cloud app reload. Provide a two-sentence commentary based whether or not the reload failed or not. So that's our system prompt. That's what is going to influence what our review, so to speak, our little click notification, what it sounds like. So just kind of a fun one, quirky one, pretty innocuous. So basically we set that up, and then the method I chose for displaying notification in Qlik Cloud is a little weird. And it's not beautiful, but it works. Essentially, when I say a notification in Qlik Cloud, this is just an empty app here. If we look at the top right, though, we see the little notification bell. This is what I'm talking about. This is where I want to see whenever an app finishes. Normally, when an app finishes, you'll see a little notification, an app reload. You'll get a little notification that just says so and so app reload failed, or reload was successful. Bland and boring. So this is where I want to get my spicy Italian, response about my I need a hot take on that app reload. This is where I want it to show up. There is no API, at least as of when I'm recording this on January 7th, 2026. There is no API for creating a notification, right? Where I can programmatically just be like, hey, I want a notification, uh, post, send, done. No, nothing like that. So I basically have to hijack some other event that will generate a notification. And the most straightforward one, at least for me, with what I cared to figure out, is a data alert. So I'm gonna do it step by step here. This is just an empty chart. It doesn't really matter. I'm gonna right click. I have alerts, and I'm gonna hit create new alert. And then in here, we normally set the details about the alert, like, oh, when sales drops below, I don't 20% of fill in the blank. Doesn't matter. This I'm just gonna do a hyphen, just a dash, and you'll see where that actually shows up later. And then write a message we can skip. So here we actually set the condition for this to run. I'm sorry, this is not the condition yet. This is just the measure it's based off. I'm going to do just the number 1 right here. This label part of the expression, this is where the actual message, our 2 sentences, can actually fit. So I'll just do a placeholder for the moment. This is where our reload feedback will go. Fun stuff, LOL. Okay, so there's our message, and then that's all we need to go to the next step. So I'll just hit the green next button there. All right, and then this measure that we just typed out, greater than a value of 0. And so 1 is greater than 0, so we're good, right? And we can confirm here in this orange box, this alert would trigger with the current data. Perfect. That's exactly what we want to see. So I'm going to hit next. All right, and then it's telling me when to do it. Let's do it immediately, so I'll keep it there. Snoozing, that's not a factor here. Sharing with others, not a factor here. So then I'll go ahead and hit create. Okay, so our alert is created, and now it will load or trigger, fire the next time this app reloads. So I'm gonna go ahead and reload it. So I'll click on the app name at the top, then I'll hit the 3 dots on the right side here, and then I'll go ahead and hit reload now. Okay, the reload is started. That's the name of my app, Born to Fail. App reload has succeeded. So it usually takes like 10 seconds, up to 10 seconds for a notification to pop up here. There we go. Okay. So alert hyphen. So that hyphen right there, remember that was the title of our alert. So I just picked a dash just because that's low key. I don't, if I could choose nothing, an empty space, I would. Maybe there's some fancy way to get like a hard break space, I think they're called in Unicode, where it's like an actual space but not a space, but it's a space. Anyway, because ultimately I want to focus only or as much as I can on the funny message, right? So that comes after that. Alert, whatever triggered. This is where our reload feedback will go. Fun stuff, LOL. And then it just says colon and then the value, which is 1. So maybe we could make this even better and get rid of that 1. Do sort of a textual comparison or something like that, or just a Boolean. Um, that would be easy enough, but this was also just for demo purposes very simple. So this is great. I like this. So that's the model that we take here. So I'm going to go back to Nathan, and that's what these steps are doing here, right? So we get the webhook triggers and from Qlik, it says this app ID and the result of the reload, and then Gemma 3 model generates the quirky, funny analysis of that reload, and then those steps that I just showed, creating that data alert, and then immediately firing off that data alert, I just do that programmatically here using the API. So you can see I fire to the conditions API, which is a post method call. Obviously, I have my API key credentials and Nathan here. And then we send this JSON body, which is a little funky. I'm planning on doing a write-up of this, making an article, and putting this on arcanalytics.us site as well as our school site, SKOOL. So you should be able to copy and paste this more or less if you want to follow along. Nevertheless, basically the important part is we're creating the condition where one is one greater than zero, I think it was, or something like that. And actually, in this case, I did is zero not equal to one, same diff, right? So that's like what we're building here. And the important part is I'm feeding in the app ID that we get from our webhook. That Qlik feeds our webhook. And then this label is the actual text from Gemma 3. So after Gemma 3 comes up with its funny response, this is where it goes in that label part that we saw earlier. All right. So that creates a condition with like its own ID or something like that. Right. So then step 2 or the API number 2 is the data alerts API. So in this, it's also a post method. So we feed it another JSON body. So here's our app ID once again. Down here is our condition ID. So this is the ID for the condition that we just created. And then I reckon that goes in there. Down here, then this middle one is the owner ID, aka my user ID. I want the alert to show up for me, right? And then that third API call triggers the data alert. So a moment ago, when I demoed this, I reloaded the app to trigger it. But you can also trigger the alert directly or reevaluate the alert. But in this case, one is always not equal to zero, right? So it's always going to fire, or when we evaluate it, it always evaluates to true. And so literally we just feed it the task ID, the data alert task ID, and then it fires it or evaluates it, right? So we know it's going to fire. Now, ultimately, we don't want to kind of, at least for me, I didn't want to clog up my data alerts kind of list. Because if this ran a bunch of times, I could have hundreds or thousands or tens of thousands over a very long period of time of just dead alerts, one-offs. I don't need that, right? So I wanted to just go ahead and delete this alert ASAP, right? Because this alert only exists to show me one notification and then it can go away. So what I do is I wait 30 seconds right here. Is that 30 seconds or milliseconds actually? Oh, duh, seconds right there. 30 seconds. So it waits 30 seconds, and after 30 seconds, it will delete that data alert. Sayonara, adios, all that. So great. That's the whole flow right there. So the last component to this is how do I create that webhook? So if you have access in Qlik Cloud as an administrator to the webhook section here, right? So you go to, you go to administration, you scroll down to webhooks, and then you can create new. Actually, I'll show the one I already created here to make it easier to visualize. So I created one called Nathan Webhook for app reloads. And then that URL that you give it is, if I go back to Nathan really fast, this webhook node gives you the listening API right there. Bing. And while you're testing it, you can use test. For production, you can use the production URL, of course. So then we just paste that in, blah, blah, blah. You can feed it a secret if you so desire. You can also feed it like a header value, and you can, which can sort of be like a username and password ish. I use that cautiously, is all I'm gonna say. And then we're going to have it fire on which event? The reload finished event, right? So that's all that is right there. And then what it so when it actually fires, these are some previous examples here. Um, and so if I do this one here, so this is an example of what Qlik is feeding or sending to our Nathan webhook. So it sends stuff like this: source reloads. We see the event type is a finish reload here. We see our user ID. We see app ID. So that's one of the things that we use. And then we see succeeded true or status succeeded, right? Which is the other thing that we use. So basically, the LLM model and Gemma 3 in this case, we don't tell it what the app is or what the actual data is. All we're telling it is, here's this app. Did it succeed? Right? Super naive and basic, but it's it gives it a little bit of just a wide open field to make fun of any aspect of how great we are for loading it successfully or how crummy we are for not, right? So that's really what it all comes down to. So let's do a little test, right? Let's hope it works. I'm going to set this to active. All right, so you can now make calls to your production webhook URL. Great. And blah, 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 ignore. So I already have it set up to be listening for all that. Let me clean this up here. Oh, here we go. Bing, bing, bing. Okay. So I'll keep this up and I will keep this here. Yeah. All right. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go ahead and reload this app again. Okay. Because our webhook is listening for any and all apps to any and all reloads, not one in particular. So I'm going to go ahead and hit reload now. Okay, reload has started. Reload has succeeded. So first, in the next couple of seconds, we will get the default notification. There it is, right? Or that's not the default. That's my old one. I didn't delete my demo one that I showed a moment ago. But anyway, that shows up, so that's fine. And then the next thing that we're gonna do is I'm gonna pop back here. Let me do a little refresh. All right, so here's that webhook here that we've set up in Qlik. And we'll go ahead and peek at the result. We can see that it was a success. And so we see a few things here. We see the fact that it was a reload. It was a finish reload event. Here's that app ID that's associated with that app that finished the reload. There's that status exceeded. So we know that it was a successful reload. That's the information that we're really feeding into Nathan from that point. And so then what we can do is we can actually go into Nathan and see that each step finished successfully. So here in this webhook component here, it received the payload here, including the status exceeded, right? And then we can see here it produced that humorous little quip about that reload status that we noticed earlier. And then from there, what we can see is and here we can see this is what it actually produced for us. So here we're looking at the webhooks. I'm going to click on that app reloads webhook and I'll look at that most recent run. All right, and I can see the payload that was sent to Nathan, including the app ID for the app that ran, and then the status of succeeded. All right, so that's the information that we're feeding into Nathan. And then Nathan is going to take that, it's going to feed it into the LLM. It's then going to get that response from the LLM model, and then it's going to create the condition, the data alert. It's going to fire that data alert, and then from that point on, it just waits 30 seconds before deleting that data alert. So now if I pop back here into Qlik, I should, yeah, there we go. So I get my response. So alert triggered. Mamma mia, this reload succeeded. Thank God. It took a measly 2 seconds, which is practically a blink of an eye in the world of data. Perfetto. Seriously, don't even think about complaining. This thing just finished like a shot of espresso. Magnifico. Mildly offensive, not really. It's cheeky, it's witty, or what? Maybe not witty, but it's mildly humorous. It's amusing, perhaps. And that's what we got. And actually, if we pop back into Nathan, we can see that it produced that exact thing here. This is where we can actually see what the output was, where it took in the what we sent in from Qlik in that webhook. This is what it spit out, and then each step thereafter shows up. So, anyways, that's about it for this video. It's silly. It's a little straightforward, hopefully, but just a fun little thing that you can try on your own if you have access to Nathan and LLM uh, and Qlik Cloud. So until the next video, adios.